and welcome to 5280 Film Room. We're a Colorado sports podcast by fans for fans. I'm Alyssa.
I'm Gideon.
I'm Miles.
And I'm Jordan.
And today we are excited to talk some Broncos and Rockies with you. Before we jump in, big shout out and thank you to those who have already tuned in. We are a very new podcast and are always looking for input and feedback, so please hit us up with any constructive criticism.
Questions, comments, concerns.
Yeah, good, bad, and ugly. We want it all. We are trying to learn and grow because we are by fans for fans. We are four people who love sports but are regular people with regular jobs. We are not media professionals.
This is not our full-time job, so please tell us what you want to hear.
We'd love your insight. So you can email us at 5280filmroom@gmail.com. All that being said, the Broncos.
Or, I mean, there's also the throwback to the TB12 that Gid requested, episode 1 or 2?
I still don't have my TB12 book.
Right.
So
yeah.
It's probably still in the mail.
I'd love to review
that ship
it.
time is
Right.
extended.
Obviously, snail mail. The non-first class.
I also pre-ordered Case Keenum's book. It should be coming to me via Amazon September 6th, so get ready for
around the corner.
For a podcast review of
Wait,
Case
so
Keenum's
I know you were at the Friends
book.
and Family tent. Did he whisper in your ear and be like, "Hey, can you give a quick shout out to my book real quick?"
He did not. But so to give some context, Jordan and I were super lucky, and on Tuesday went to our very first day of training camp ever with a very good friend of ours, friend of the podcast, Anthony, who was able to get us in the Friends and Family tent. So we hung out and watched training camp from the VIP area.
Your very first training camp.
Very first ever. Free water bottles
True
and
fans
Gatorade.
over here. Ladies.
We were in the shade.
In the shade. Had our
had
little
chairs.
stickers that say we're allowed to be there. Had chairs. They're like the white wedding chairs that you see, the garden chairs that are at events. It was amazing though. But I did lean over to Anthony at one point and I was like, if for some reason Case Keenum comes over here after practice, I'm pretty much just going to tell him I'm glad he's here and ask him to tell Kim I love her. I'm a big Kim Keenum fan.
Need more waffles.
Gotta have those waffles. But being at training camp was special, and I was like a kid on Christmas. I was a giddy mess. I felt like I stayed pretty composed on the outside. But it was just fascinating to watch the process play out.
It was really cool. I mean, it's a $1 billion organization, so I shouldn't be surprised. But I was surprised at how nice the facilities were. It's just such a beautiful
it's freshly
facility.
Renovated as well,
right? Yeah.
Yes.
It's why have I never been here before? And it was so cool.
It's also really cool to be on the same literal playing field as these elite athletes, to see how freakishly large they are or how fast they can run.
Yep.
Or Marquette King punting the ball through the sky.
Hang time for days.
Literally
There's not
right
much sky in
front of us.
Colorado, but
It was amazing. And early on in the practice, the tight ends were doing their initial warm-ups right in front of us, so we had the whole lineup there.
We could almost
doing
grab
their
them.
quick steps through the ladder thing that they put on the grass.
Which Trailer, he's got some quick feet for a big guy.
Yeah, he
they
is
got
muscle.
they're not professionals getting paid millions of dollars to be slow.
Right. But he
Just because you got a gut, high knees, man, high knees.
I mean, him and Jake Butt, they probably have the two
So
quickest
fast.
feet. I was expecting Trailer to be a little bit slower, but he was outperforming Hireman and Fumagalli. Well, he had some quick feet.
And so how much more confidence does that give you as a fan to see the players go through their normal practice? They don't do those quick feet in every play during the games on Sundays. How does that boost your confidence in our team by seeing how the players better themselves?
Well, and it was just kind of nice, seeing all the different position groups doing their different activities, but they were all kind of the same. They all did strength stuff and all quickness stuff,
agility based.
yeah, exactly. So it was kind of cool just seeing them doing elements of their game that you wouldn't see them do in the game.
And I think it's a good reminder, especially for, young kids out there that are playing sports in, elementary school and middle school and high school. When you're a pro and you're making the big bucks, you're doing drills the same way you did all those years. That is the consistency. And that doesn't change. It's not like they come out and boom, scrimmage. Like, there's so much that goes into those building blocks and always keeping those fundamentals sharp. And that, for me, was what I was most interested watching. It was just fascinating to see that in action and go, wow, like, these professional athletes, day in and day out, come in and do the same kind of baseline warm-ups and routines and agility exercises that all athletes do to stay on top of their game.
Yeah, and they practiced for 2 hours, and like they practiced for the full 2 hours, whether it was together or individually. Like, they were just going for
Constantly
2 straight hours.
Going on.
My favorite was when they were in their like rows and doing their like donkey kicks and like weird stretchers, and I was like, you know, to everyone out there that's like in Pilates class and feels like they look stupid, nobody looks good doing that.
Come to training
literally
camp.
Like watching all of these like grown men doing these bizarre stretchers and flutter kicks and like flappy arm stretches.
It was
I'm like, see, nobody looks graceful doing that. You just gotta go do it.
Your body needs it.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was like awful synchronized stretching.
It was pretty
looked
great.
So awkward.
Yeah.
But they were doing it at the same time.
There was one moment, too, where they were doing a passing drill, and all three quarterbacks, in absolute perfect sync, threw a pass at the same time. And those passes were caught at the exact same time by three different receivers.
Teamwork.
That was
so
pretty.
insane.
Looks pretty.
And I didn't anticipate watching a punter would be so fascinating, but Marquette King was super interesting to watch, and he was really close to us for a good portion of the practice. And just watching him do his thing was fascinating. And that hang time, like you said, it was insane.
Yeah, he was kicking it 6 yards down the field with a lot of hang time. Like, we didn't time it, but it was hanging up there for a long time. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of the Marquette King signing just because of his contract size, but after seeing him in practice, like, this dude is legit. He's a great punter.
Highly recommend going to training camp. I cannot believe we had never been before. Next year, yeah.
What was your guys' most impressive takeaway from it, as far as either positional based, player based?
Whether they made any improvements from the last preseason game.
That's a good question.
Seeing Marquette King in action after that interview. I was trying to think of an adjective, but I mean just interview in general.
Interview.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite moment of the whole thing was when they were doing 7-on-7 and Case Keenum just threw it up to Cortland Sutton. He was like 40 yards down the field, and he had two guys draped on him. I don't remember who the defenders were, but Cortland just out-jumped both of them by so much and came down with the ball. Like, it's a ball that most receivers wouldn't catch.
So this dude's legit.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what he's able to do.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, and you all, if you've listened to any of these episodes, you're aware I'm the big, like, sappy sports fan. But getting to meet with some players afterwards and get autographs and say hello, everyone was so nice. Just so incredibly kind and, like, gracious and excited to autograph your stuff and say hello and shake your hand. Emmanuel Sanders is my favorite player. And I got my jersey signed and got a picture with him and managed to, on the outside, seem like I was fairly calm, but internally I was freaking out. Like, completely, like, heart racing, like, freaking out. And I think it's also great to be like, these are just people. Like, as a sports fan, you watch them and you build up these things in your head. And then you are face-to-face with them. And Brandon Marshall, like, nicest guy you'll ever meet. Everyone was just so kind. Todd Davis, so nice.
Yeah, it was just so much fun, just like walking through the Broncos players, and they're just chit chatting with everybody, signing autographs, just like
they're people too.
They're just hanging out with the fans.
Yeah, and they've got their wives and their kids there, and it's just like anyone is at their, you know, they're not done with their day at work, but they have a little break and they come and they relax, and then off to meetings they go. But it was really special to be there, and I'm grateful we had that opportunity.
Yeah, and Von Miller was one of the last ones to leave the practice field.
First
so
one on.
The whole
he is popular.
And the whole time, like, he was kind of over off in the corner, but like the crowd crowd after practice just kind of like gathered around that side of the field, and you could just hear them just yelling, "Vaughn, come over here, come over here."
That is one incredibly patient and gracious human being.
Right? And then he eventually did it, but he wasn't done practicing.
He's like, people love me, and you know he loves it too. He enjoys it.
Oh yeah.
Not like
and
Terrell Owens loves it, but like he's like, I'm gonna show my fans some love, and
Well, and I think with Vaughn, aside from the attention, like he loves knowing that he can make a positive impact with a handshake, with an autograph. Like he can make someone stay and make someone feel happy, because he's such a goofball, and he's always just so full of joy. And he was cracking so many jokes in his press conference this week, and that's just who he is as a person.
Yeah, he was
cool
awesome. Dude. Yeah, just like how like he finished his practice even with people yelling at him, and then he came over. It's like, I'm not done yet. Like I'm coming over a little bit.
Guys. Yeah, like, patient.
Yeah.
No, it was a lot of fun and a great experience. We're definitely going to go back again soon.
I hope so. Yeah, next year. Because it's no more practices open to fans. But that just means we are one step closer to real deal regular season football. We played the Vikings last week. In our podcast last week, we discussed different things we were hoping to see. What did you guys think about that game?
Well, I fell asleep probably like 8 minutes into the second quarter. So I was able to see Case with, what do you have, 2 drives, right?
Yeah, 1 for 4 for 5 yards.
I mean, it wasn't pretty, but you're going up against, the first string defense as well, and we've all known that the Vikings have had a solid D.
They're going to be a monster of a team. I mean,
that's why they set Case Keenum up last year for having such a successful season that he had, was because he had a great defense to rely on. So the Broncos defense is definitely going to have to make some improvements. Like I said last week, I wasn't worried about a win or a loss, and I feel like you take more away from a loss because whatever mistakes you made are much more prevalent when you lose. Because when you win, like, things start to tend to get sugar-coated, and you're like, it wasn't so bad. And then 2 weeks later, it's like, no, this is a problem.
Losses leave you hungry.
When you lose, you see everything, and you want to fix everything at once, and it makes all of your problems clear right in front of you.
It magnifies them.
Yeah. And so going into this next week, we're playing the Bears, so Mitchell Trubisky's trying to show people, like, hey, I can do some stuff too. I'm sure he'll get a little bit more reps than your standard, 2 drive and out for the starters like Aaron Rodgers, Big Ben, things like that.
Well, didn't Brady just play an entire first half?
Last night?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the whole first half.
I didn't watch
it
that
may
one.
have been. I know it was.
I remember seeing something about that.
He also likes to milk the
clock,
clock,
and that was their
too.
second preseason game.
That could still be
Things
2 drives.
Things are a little different in the second
Definitely.
preseason
No,
game.
for sure. Yeah. But coming back to the mistakes, now's the time to make them.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
This
First
doesn't hit
and
our
second
season
week,
record.
when you hit the third week of preseason, that's when it's like, we're taking this seriously. Like, you guys need to get your reps down, and if you can't get in sync with the rest of your teammates, then this is going to spill into the regular season. And the last thing any team wants is to start the season like 0-3.
Yeah. Well, in the Broncos' first string offense, they had 2 3-and-outs. And how much do you guys care about that? Like, is that a big deal? First preseason?
Preseason 1?
They're trying some stuff out. Like, it's a whole new offense. Like, we've got some people that are back, mostly receivers, and
I think our line's mostly intact, aside from 1 or 2. I know we got Valdir.
Stronger than it was.
So
yeah,
that's just such a minute sample size. Getting yourself all huffed up in a tizzy over it, it's a waste of your emotional
also
energy.
against one of the top defenses of last year.
When you have the public able to come to training camp and watch people, like, it is a little bit of a distraction as a player. Like, you got people yelling at you while you're practicing and trying to perform and listen to your coaches. You do care about your fans, and that's why they do a lot of their social interactions after practice is completed. Even between drills, sometimes they'll come and, like, wave at fans and things like that. But once you get into this time period where practices are closed, this is when they're really dialing their craft in. And I think this week we're going to see a much more improved Broncos squad on the offensive and defensive side. But
I hope so.
But back to your point about the 3 and outs, is like we definitely need to see some production out of this first string offense to make sure, like, to alleviate the fans' concerns. Like, all right, we know we have a solid defense. Like, can we move the ball? Are we going to continue this 3 and out systemic problem that we've had over the last 2 years?
And hopefully,
no, you go ahead.
Well, hopefully in tomorrow's game we're able to see the first team a bit more. It's really hard to make any kind of definitive judgment based on such a limited sample size, like I said, from the game against the Vikings. So hopefully they're out on the field a bit longer tomorrow, not only to give fans peace of mind, because, let's face it, honestly, in the big scheme of things, that's pretty minute, but to give the team themselves that feeling of confidence and the connectivity that they're showing in practices, that they've been showing in training camp, to be able to play that out on the big stage.
One, after the last 2 seasons for the Broncos, I would like to see the offense just have some rhythm.
Yes.
If this was 4 years ago when we had Peyton Manning and they had 2 3 and outs, I wouldn't care.
We got Peyton Manning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I would like to see some sort of rhythm on the offense.
Right.
So, for the first preseason game, I didn't really care about Keenum's stats, but I would have liked to have seen more just to show that,
get a touchdown.
Yeah. Or even, a few completions in a row. Just put something together.
First down.
So we know that our offense might actually do something this year.
Well, moving on from that, it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because then Paxton Lynch got a lot of usage in that first half and showed everyone his true colors. He can't direct the offense. He can't make good passes. His interception,
it was tips.
Got tipped.
Yeah.
But threw into double coverage, was a little bit hurried.
It probably wasn't the best throw.
Probably was not. But after that, Chad Kelly comes in and shines and shows off what he's got. And by the next 24 to 48 hours, Paxton's demoted to 3rd string, and even still shows some captivation. Why? How did this happen?
And that to me is kind of just put the nail in the coffin to what I was talking about last week. He's just not the guy. He's not a football player. He's not meant for this. And his attitude with being demoted to 3rd, from what we've heard, obviously, seems to verify that. And then watching Chad Kelly respond to questions and in interviews, and his responses just being so professional and so focused on, I'm here to learn, I'm here to improve, I am grateful for the opportunity, saying all of the right things.
We'll see the long game in that. I mean, that was one of his biggest detriments in college, was his personality and how he reacted to different things.
Absolutely. But as humans, we're so reactionary to our environment.
Especially in the college environment.
Exactly.
That's the other side, though. Paxton Lynch has had regular season starts, and he was not impressive in the preseason.
He's been in
he's also not impressive wasn't impressive in regular season.
But for a college kid, Chad Kelly hasn't played live action football in a year and a half.
Maybe the ringer there is...
It was impressive to see him do as well as he did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe the ringer there is the fact that Chad has a little bit more family history in the NFL. I don't know what Paxton Lynch. I don't know.
He's our first round draft pick.
Well, I'm saying that's family history.
Yeah, no.
I'm sure we would have heard
Jim
about
Kelly,
that if there was.
Right.
Hall of Fame quarterback.
But I guarantee you,
that's why
Uncle Jim has sat Chad down and said, "This is how you do your job."
That's why there was such a big gap between Chad Kelly in college as far as his personality and the way his demeanor has changed now. Because of the time that he's had, not only with the rapport that Kelly and Elway have, Jim, that is.
Right.
But the fact that Jim was in the league for years.
That's true.
That knowledge and that experience
Chad Kelly had to show
invaluable.
Everyone else, can you stay out of trouble for 2 years?
He had to prove it, yes.
Yeah.
And
Stay under the radar.
I feel like something that really
made him a better person.
Sets them apart is Paxton has been enveloped in this professional environment now for 3 years?
This will be his 3rd year.
This is okay. And it doesn't feel like it's sinking in. It doesn't feel like he's taking advantage of all of the opportunities
he's the kid in
he
class
has.
that copied off his classmates.
Yes, yes. And Chad's the kid in class who
did all the work
who
for
like
his class.
Didn't necessarily like get the grades to get into the good school, but got the right recommendation, and then showed up like, I've got to earn my spot. I have to prove that they didn't make a mistake letting me in this place. Mr. Irrelevant. That is the title that hung over his head the second he joined the NFL.
That might also give him some extra
motivation
to really go out.
But that's the definition of your character. Like,
yes,
if you choose to take that and let it motivate you to become great, that's a sign of who you are, versus going, oh, well, okay.
How you react to the situation, not...
the situation itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and something I just remember this going back to training camp. Something I noticed was in between quarterback drills, Chad Kelly, when they got done, he would always jog to the next drill. And Paxton Lynch, he would walk to the next drill.
Yeah,
what about Case?
I mean, you don't need, but it's like, I mean,
his job is intact.
It's intact. But
he would jog when he wanted to. He would walk when he wanted to. But he's number one.
This man gets to
like Paxton would always walk, and Kelly would always jog to the next one. Like, he didn't need to.
I think if you're under the microscope, you got to be.
Oh no, for sure.
Jogging.
Well, and we were at the training camp, I believe, the day after he was officially moved up.
So they had a day of training, because usually like Monday's an off day. Because did they play on Sunday?
Saturday.
So maybe
we went on Tuesday.
Maybe they did practice on Monday.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So,
but you could tell he was hungry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was ready to.
I'm just glad that after one preseason game, coaching staff's already making some changes with the roster. Like, we are making some moves in house. People are moving up. People are moving down. We got people that don't want to play. Like, you're starting to figure out who really has the fire to make this final roster.
And after all the wishy-washy quarterback nonsense last year, that move gave me more confidence in this coaching staff. You have to make the moves.
Well, yeah. I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
Going back to what Gid said last week, I mean, he was excited to see what Royce has. Royce showed up, and I think he's shown. I mean, obviously, it may not be
small sample size.
Yeah, small sample size in the depth chart between him and Booker, but I definitely think he's shown that he deserves a hard look at that number one RB spot.
Absolutely.
And that's the glory about going through these next 3 weeks of preseason is like, you're not getting 2 drives or 3 drives. Like, you're getting,
no man is safe from that 53 foot
or
53 roster spot.
Well, and I think I'm a super casual fan. Preseason can be a little lost. I was in the checkout line at Safeway today, buying a bunch of stuff for tonight, and we have our draft party tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, we're going to have our draft party, then watch the preseason game. And the checkout lady was like, oh, a game that doesn't matter? And I was like, oh, well, maybe it doesn't matter, quote unquote, but it's our opportunity as fans to see the 2s and the 3s and who's delivering and who's stepping up. Like, if you're a fan who's really into it and really invested and knows what they're looking for, preseason is a blast.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. And I hope a lot of casual fans can kind of get more into it, because there's a lot to be entertained by, because there's a lot to learn when you're looking ahead to the regular season.
Well, and even, with new rules being implemented, the refs need those reps to go out and practice.
Especially,
they've been off. I mean, everyone likes to hate on the refs. They always need their practice, but when there's no football going on, these refs aren't doing anything. They're not going and reffing high school games. That's way beneath them. So even the referees need the practice, and it's good to see.
And the broadcasters, like the whole thing.
Coaches.
Yeah, like the progression of coaching staffs. Yeah. Like, there's some coaches that were just, positional coaches last year, and now they're offensive and defensive coordinators. Like, that's a whole different job than, like, I coach the quarterbacks. Yeah.
Right.
Now you're coaching an entire offense, and you need to know what your offensive line is doing and where your receivers are going.
Exactly. Well, and like the quarterback competition for second string, it's fun to talk about, but hopefully we don't have to deal with that through the season. So it's like, who's going to be...
Unless it's a blowout win.
The only,
Yes.
the only team to have like an ideal season is like the Patriots. So
yeah,
but you're gonna have to deal with second stringers, and you have to be prepared.
I think the more important positions are like who's going to be the third string running back or who's going to be the third cornerback, like rather than the second quarterback. Because ideally, Case Keenum's going to play 16 games. Like the third string running back, he's going to get playing time throughout the season. The nickel cornerback, he's going to get playing time. So I feel like people should be talking about that more than the second string quarterback, even though it is fun to talk about because it's Paxton Lynch and Chad Kelly. But
that's what
sells.
I mean, that's the
flushing out the
football
depth.
Yes.
Right?
Where do we have depth? Where do we lack depth?
One thing that was I really enjoyed seeing from last week that we mentioned last week was the fact that we wanted to see how Chad Kelly performed. Not only Chad Kelly, but we mentioned Royce Freeman, who had a really, I think, versatile but impressive 23-yard touchdown. Made that jump cut outside, broke it outside, and took it to the house. Isaiah McKenzie had a
78.
Given what happened last year, phenomenal touchdown.
Yeah.
I think that may have gotten him a roster spot.
I think it almost
Well, and
secured it.
apparently
So
today he was running with the ones in the 3 spot.
Wait,
with
as a receiver.
With his speed, he definitely has the potential to give our offense that dynamic of a Tavon Austin or
I can see
someone
him
along
catching
those
the
lines.
ball,
Yeah.
but then fumbling.
I don't know.
Not anymore.
I mean,
Let's hope.
we were just
We all
talking
could
about
see
the
that.
development. Anyways, we talked about how last week went, how everything kind of progressed. What are you guys looking forward to seeing tomorrow from the Bears game? Is there any player in particular, any situational aspects that you do want to see or hope to get out of the game? Coaching-wise, player-wise, whatever. Scheme-wise, maybe?
I mean, if Tom Brady played a full half last night, I'd like to see the first string play at least a half. Like, most of the third quarter.
Like work on the conditioning,
Yeah.
make sure that
We saw
that'd be
nothing from them last
preseason
week.
week 3.
I think they
through the
definitely
third.
get a full quarter.
At least
There's
one.
gonna
I'd be
be
happy
some,
with a full quarter.
There's going to be some first stringers that definitely get a
No,
full half.
they'll play at, more than a quarter, most of the first half.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it was less than the first quarter.
Yeah. So that's what I'm excited to see. That's what I hope I see. I want to see the first team get some work in.
I'm curious to see our second team defense. I feel like there's a couple positions where we have rock star players, but we don't have a lot of depth. And so I'm curious to see that second team step up and see some people break through as, kind of shining stars of guys that we're going to be able to rely on when the time comes. Because the reality is in this game, the time will come. And who will be ready to step up? That's what I'm curious to see.
Jewel played pretty well last week, and it's exciting to see what he can bring to the field.
Yeah, he's a fun player.
Gid, you got anything that you're excited to see?
I was gonna say the offense, but Jordan encompassed.
I mean,
it
I think
with,
that's an all around.
Actually, no. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go back to my breakout player of the season, and I'd like to see Courtland Sutton get a little bit more usage. I think he had a couple targets last game, but I think he might have had one catch, but I don't have his stats in front of me right now. I need to do better. But no, I would really like to see him get at least 6 targets, and if he can haul in like 3 to 4 catches, I think that'd be a successful day for him, and a touchdown, plus a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like not only
if he gets 3 catches, one's got to be a touchdown.
I would love to see another
like it.
Phillip Lindsay touchdown.
from Chad Kelly
Yeah.
or from
From anyone.
Keenum.
I was on a girls' trip this
From the
weekend
backfield
and
handoff,
made
Phillip
it into
Lindsay.
a sports bar in Breckenridge just in time to see that Chad Kelly to Phillip Lindsay touchdown.
It's like destiny.
It was like the icing
He's your
on the
boy.
cake of my night. He is. Big Phillip Lindsay fan.
Yeah, he looked good.
What
for
about
sure.
you, Miles?
Everything that was aforementioned. I mean, the offense, the second team defense, not necessarily only Sutton, but I do want to see what Hamilton can show.
Yeah.
I mean, we drafted 2 pretty solid receivers. Show me what you got. I mean...
Yeah, he didn't play much.
Now.
He probably played a lot, but he didn't really get a lot of attention.
No looks.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he probably was playing with the 2s when Paxton was in.
Right? Poor guy.
I mean, it happens.
Well, and I think a big benefit
now that
of
Kelly's
the
going to be the
coaches,
2.
yeah,
yes.
making this
you
move.
see the field dispersion.
Yeah.
You can't get a good read on those guys with Paxton at quarterback. It's a complete disadvantage to them. And now that Chad's going to be throwing to them, I'm hoping we can get a better read on the second team all around.
If I had to pick one thing, maybe the thing that I might most be excited about is the coaching.
I'm fascinated to see how that pans out.
Well, I'm excited to see on a season-wide aspect. Vance, first-year coach last year, head coach. He's made some progressions.
Quarterback situation.
Yeah, I mean he's been basically dealt some rough cards in a hand.
Yeah,
but it'll be good to see kind of how he grows into that second year.
I agree.
So like, show us right now. Like, we lost a game. Like, not necessarily a must-win game, but it would be nice to see a win to show our coaching staff.
See, I don't necessarily think preseason week 2 there's a requirement for a win.
Well, I'm just talking about the coaching. You're talking about the coaching.
No, yeah.
Like, from a coaching aspect, you're gonna want to get the W.
Well, you always want the W. When would you not want a W?
Last week.
We don't necessarily.
I think we would have been mad at the W.
Yeah. No, but from a coaching standpoint, when you're a coach, when do you not want a W? I get that.
What I'm talking about is you're talking about the progression of the coaches.
Yes.
And so from their mindset, like especially with Vance Joseph, like show us as fans that you are helping to progress this team to becoming better.
Yeah.
And so getting a win out of this weekend would.
I think a win with the ones. If we get out of the first half, if we get out of the not necessarily the first half, the ones.
And we didn't see that last week.
Exactly.
Like last week wasn't a win.
The Vikings stomped on our defense. We didn't have Vaughn in, so granted it wasn't full strength.
And he'll be out there, I'm sure, for second.
He might be out there.
No.
He'll get a few reps. I'm sure
he'll get some reps. He'll be suited up. I think
I would save him for the third preseason game. Like, he needs some game work for sure, but
he might be getting antsy though.
He's hungry. Give him like 3 drives. This game,
just let him go.
Let him do like a couple swim moves.
Sink his teeth into a Trubisky once or twice. That's all he needs.
If he gets hurt,
I listened to the BSN podcast today, and they were or the podcast from yesterday. They were talking about how apparently they told Vaughn to go ahead and like unleash the beast and stop not wrecking practice, and he got 2 sacks on Trubisky, and they were both pretty brutal. He's just dying to play.
Oh yeah,
he just wants to play.
I mean, he's one of the top outside pass rushers ever.
And
yeah.
I mean, he's one of 3 players to average 10 or more sacks or get 10 or more sacks in his first 6 seasons.
And Vance Joseph gets a lot of hate from Broncos fans.
Well, after going 5-11, can you blame him? A lot.
Kind of. I'm like, this is a first-time head coach in a crappy situation. Like, everyone just wants someone to blame. Not everyone. Fans want someone to blame. Yes.
Yep.
And
the easiest one to blame on an NFL team is the head coach.
Yep. And I'm all for letting Vance show us what he's got as a coach.
Because we all know last year we all did somewhat blame each quarterback that played.
For sure. Yeah.
But that's only one player. I mean, the person on the top of the rung.
And that's what comes from being in charge.
Yeah.
You are accountable for every single mistake and every single success. So I hope for a successful week 2, because I want this fan base to lay off of Vance Joseph and just give him a chance to get the ducks in a row and get things sorted out.
Well, and Vance even came out and said that he doesn't think he handled last year, the best way that he could, as far as the players and the other coaches. Like, he didn't take that leadership role. And Elway came out and said he didn't put Vance in the best position to be a head coach. So it's like, at least there's that honesty and that trust between the people that are higher up in the organization.
And they're both taking responsibility.
Exactly.
They're not blaming each other.
No.
Yep.
They're both on the same page and ready to become better and know what they need to fix.
Yeah. So I think this year will be a lot different. Whether it'll translate into more wins, I hope so. I don't know. But
We better get more than 5.
We're going to.
I mean, Case Keenum is worth 2 or 3
that.
wins.
I really do.
I got my fingers crossed for 10. On the upper high end, I got them at 12, but they're going 8-8.
What's the floor? Floor is 8-8.
For me, and how I view this team and where our skill level's at and everything.
I don't know
their
if I'm
floor
ready
is
to
8-8.
jump into that.
Because I think Case Keenum is worth 2 or 3 wins, but I think the floor has to be 5 wins because that's what they are.
6.
I'm just going to believe.
I have high
they won 5
expectations.
games last year. So
I'd say
it's
6 or 7's the floor for wins.
Okay. Because my floor is 5.
I mean,
my
obviously,
ceiling is 11.
I think we're all in agreement that Keenum is better than any starter or any quarterback we had on our roster last year.
By a mile. Yeah.
But he's only done it for 1 year.
And only a couple years ago, he was third string playing fourth quarters in preseason for teams.
Exactly. So it's like,
So,
he had a great year last year.
That's one knock on him is the fact that he had a great year, and people are thinking that's the fluke year for Keenum.
I mean, if you look at his 6-year career, 5 out of 6 weren't very good.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I definitely am hoping for that 1 year production as opposed to those other 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think... I know he's a lot better than all the quarterbacks we had last year. And I think he's going to be at least as good as he was last year. But it was only 1 year in his career. So I wouldn't be surprised if he regresses. But I think he'll be just as good as he was last year. We'll see that.
I think victory waffles are going to definitely help.
You know, carbs and sugar motivate people. Mm-hmm. I believe in a thing called waffles. Just listen to the rhythm of your stomach. All right. So, I'm so excited to watch tomorrow, see how the rest of preseason pans out while we wait for our first regular season game against the Seahawks. We're going to wrap things up with a quick Rockies update. Tonight was their second game of this series against the Atlanta Braves. They won 11-5, put up a great performance tonight. Any insight, gentlemen?
I thought you were on a roll right there.
And
abrupt stop.
Yes.
No, tonight it was really good to see Freeland come out and pitch another dime.
Freeland
Bats are hot as usual. I mean, like, we're doing everything right now again. Like, I just hope it doesn't turn into another losing streak.
Well, and we've got 2 more games against the Braves and then 3 at home against the Padres. So we should be looking good for a little
Keep
bit.
Scrolling down.
Keep
so
scrolling.
No,
I mean,
but
there's
I'm
more.
focusing on the Padres.
No,
But the Padres.
No, hold on.
well, I mean, the next 5.
So we got the Padres, the Cardinals, which that'll be tough. We got the Angels, which will be easy, and then the Padres.
So Padres twice.
So 3 of the
who's
next...
their
So our
next
next-
divisional opponent after that, though?
The
3
Giants.
of the next 4 series
Yes.
will be good.
Yes.
And then starting on September 7th, the first day of the Broncos regular season, the Rockies are back against the Dodgers for another 3-game series here at home.
So we have 6 divisional games before we hit... No.
The Dodgers.
9. Is it 3
Wait,
San Diego, 3 San Diego, and then 3 with the Giants?
So we got 3 San Diego,
3 San Diego, 4 San Diego.
Okay, so that's 7.
3 Giants.
10. So we have 10 divisional games for us to like maybe we can get 3-4 games ahead of the Dodgers.
Before we have to
maybe
face the Dodgers
like
again.
Puig got suspended.
Yeah.
So hopefully that does some detriment to their team and they can
Kenley
drop
Jansen's
a few.
hurt for the Dodgers. He's a
So,
closer, which
dude, the
sucks
Rockies
for him.
like over those divisional games, they could definitely pull a few games ahead of the Dodgers in the divisional standings. And like you said last week, the D-bags are definitely going to fall off as the season progresses.
I think so, just because they're not a deep team and they're pretty old. So the Rockies have a prime opportunity to try to take first place because they're one game behind the D-backs
as of this very moment,
and one game ahead of the Dodgers. Which, can I say, like, how amazing it is that the Diamondbacks and the Rockies are 1-2 in the NL West halfway through August, and the Dodgers and the Giants are chasing us. For the last 10 years,
it's been the opposite.
The Diamondbacks and the Rockies, they've always tried to stay relevant, and it's always been the Dodgers and the Giants.
What's the Rockies' scoring differential?
That is a great question.
I think last night, after tonight, obviously it's going to change, but
it's been negative the whole season.
I believe our differential was minus 23.
Yeah, I know it's been,
and we have a winning record. So that just means like when we lose, we're really losing. Like kind of against the Astros, we lost 12-1.
1-1.
And when
won
we win,
the first
we barely
one, got smattered the second one. But the Dodgers in the series before that, we talked about this on our last podcast. We were all nervous as ever going into that series. We were watching the first game of that series and we lost. And the Rockies pulled out wins the next 3 games against the Dodgers. And every single one was like a down to the wire win.
Yeah. Those were great wins. Like winning 11-2, that's awesome. But like those nail biter wins, like I think that just
it's good baseball.
The team so much.
Were those? I didn't follow those as closely as I would have liked, but were those comebacks or did our bullpen inherit the lead?
We were down 3-1.
Yeah, so Ryan McMahon,
we won 5-3, I think. Right?
Ryan McMahon hit a walk-off
in the third game of the series.
Yeah.
All right.
And then it was a walk in the 4th game of the series.
Yes.
Nice.
The second game of the series. We won 5-4.
So it doesn't sound like the bullpen would have been too relevant
games
to
were all
inheriting the lead and keeping it.
Not necessarily inheriting, but they definitely have to maintain. Don't give anything up.
They didn't
we talked about last week how our bullpen has lost 15 or 16 games when inheriting the lead.
Right.
So,
and in those games it was like we were losing, so just don't make it worse. So
and all 3 of those games,
but that's basically the same situation.
We won by 1 run. The scores were 4-5, 2-3, and 3-4.
Dub's a dub.
And those are the dubs that mean the most.
Yeah. When you just grind it out and find a way to win, those are the best ones.
Especially against a solid team like the Dodgers. If we can piece that together, and beat the Cardinals, that would be nice. If we can get 2-1 against the Cardinals. We definitely have a nice little run at the end of August for us to kind of take not necessarily a stranglehold on the NL West, but definitely kind of be king of the mountain for a couple days.
Well, and as of right now, the Rockies are fighting for a wild card spot because the Diamondbacks are number 1.
Take the division.
And the Cardinals are in the same spot, so it's like we need to.
If you're in the NL West, well, because I think it's NL Central is the other one that's got 4 teams above 500 in their division. So the 2 wild card spots in the NL are getting fought between 6 teams or something like that.
It's brutal.
I know.
Maybe 8. There might be 8 teams going for 2 spots.
I know, because at the end of the season, this series with the Cardinals could decide a playoff spot. Like, we're getting to that point in the season.
1-game playoff.
We got Kyle Freeland.
For division!
We got this.
How crazy would they extend the season 1 game for, like, a divisional, for who wins the division?
Yeah, MLB doesn't do tiebreakers. As far as, like, they don't do win-loss records head-to-head. It's, if you're tied at the end of the season, you're fighting for a playoff spot.
And you play that team.
Play an extra game and figure
were you asking playoff spot or the division win?
Like if, let's say the Diamondbacks and the Rockies have the identical record, like, for the division lead, whoever gets guaranteed a playoff spot or they drop in a wild card, would that go into a 1-game playoff or does it go to divisional record?
Ooh.
I think it would go to divisional.
I've never heard of that before.
I think it would go to divisional record.
What if it's a tied divisional record?
1-game playoff, let's go.
Right? I don't know.
It should be a dance-off.
I've never seen that before. That's a good question, though.
But it's very likely.
Sometime.
Not very likely, but it is a possibility.
Yeah.
With the way our division is shaping up.
What if the Diamondbacks, Rockies, and Dodgers are all tied at the end?
They all play each other at the same time. and then there's a third
3
dugout.
innings apiece.
The rock pile is the third dugout.
So we play at Mile High to leverage the thin air, right?
Yes.
All right. I like it.
Oh my goodness.
I like it.
Just like revolutionize the baseball field, where there's like 2 fields combined.
It would be a
so all 3 can
13-inning
play.
game.
So third base and first base are the same for
13-inning
One
game
game.
with a top, a mid, and a bottom of the innings. I think that would work.
We're gonna
one home plate.
One home plate. Yeah,
One
they're like,
home
no,
plate.
don't change the field. It's still baseball.
Yeah.
Don't ruin this.
We'll continue redesigning the game of baseball off air. But seriously, thank you guys so much for listening. As I said at the beginning, we're new to this, and we are absolutely hungry for your feedback and your insight and your questions and what you want us to talk about and what criticism and anything you want to tell us. We would love to hear. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at 5280 Film Room. You can also shoot us an email at 5280filmroom@gmail.com. This has been episode 9. We're getting a little crazy tonight because fantasy football is upon us. So we're literally going to take a break and then jump into recording episode 10, which will be a specialty fantasy football episode. So if you are a fantasy football guru, player, newbie, all of the above, tune into episode 10 as well. And we'll catch you all in 15 minutes, but then also next week. So thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.
Laters.
Peace.